in alignment with your Americanism. After 400 years, don't you see the history? We've been Anglo-Americans, Black Americans, Negro small n, Negro big N, Black small b, Black big B, because we got this idea that if we just call ourselves the right thing, we'll get free. We still fighting now in the Black consciousness movement. What should we call ourselves? Because don't nobody want to be African no more. When I came up with the unapologetically African movement, I said when I came up with the unapologetically African movement, Negroes called it unapologetically Black. I never said unapologetically Black. I said unapologetically African, but you'd rather be a color than a person. You'd rather be an adjective than a noun. That self-hate is still within us to this very day. And that's why you got to have a psychological resurrection and reconstruction before you have anything else. Because without that psychological revolution, we'll be taking nothing but coons to Africa who will cause more coonism and more problems. You can be invited to Africa, but you can also be disinvited to Africa. For those who go back to meet with Africa, right now I'm working on a 3-nation repatriation community, where I want to build the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy in 3 different African nations, with a supporting community right around it. And for those who go back with me, you're going to have to go through re-Africanization classes. Black woman, no weaving perm will ever go with me to Africa. Black man or homosexual or white girl will ever go with me to Africa either. It must be from a Garvey mentality. And when we talk about Garveyism and Pan-Africanism, what exactly is that anyway? Number one, let's summarize Pan-Africanism so we're on the same page. Because now with the popularity of Pan-Africanism, everybody seems to be one. Well, I grew up one. Principle number 1, all African people, wherever they are in the world, are members of the same human family. And we identify with that human family. Because that identification with that human family supersedes our identity with anything else we believe in. In other words, you're never a Muslim who happens to be an African. You're an African who happens to be a Muslim. You're never a Christian who happens to be black. You're a black man who happens to be a Christian. You understand? So whether you are Yoruba or Igbo, whether you're Zulu or Xhosa, whether you're Wolof or Mandingo, whether you're Maasai or Kikuyu, you're African first. Whether you speak Spanish or French, whether you speak Zulu or whether you speak French, no matter what tongue is in your mouth, no matter whose flag you pray to, no matter what God you honor, we're African first. And why do we identify with our Africanity before we identify with any other membership? Because the only thing you belong to, and if I'm wrong, prove it, the only thing you belong to that you can never change, fixed by God, is your African racial membership. That's you can give up Islam tomorrow. You can give up the church tomorrow. You can give up your citizenship in your nation tomorrow. You can start speaking a new language tomorrow. But you are African for the rest of your life, and that's why identifying as African comes first. Principle number 2. And these are in no order because they're equally important. Principle number 2, as Africa goes, so goes all of her children in the diaspora. One of the biggest contradictions of the civil rights movement of America. One of the biggest contradictions of the freedom struggle in the United Kingdom. One of the biggest contradictions of the struggle in Black France and Paris. One of the biggest contradictions of our people's struggle in the Caribbean, Central and South America, is that all of those struggles in the Western world were totally separate operationally from liberation on the continent. See, why is the Chinese respected?
We don't have a choice. We can no longer afford to dislike each other. We can no longer afford to be suspicious of each other. We must understand that a problem in DRC is an African problem. A problem in Cameroon is an African problem. A problem in Somalia is an African problem. And guess what? The only people who can address those issues is us, the diaspora. It's very difficult for somebody in the DRC who's struggling to make a living to start thinking continental. It's very difficult for somebody in Malawi to start thinking continental. But we can come in as an army of united African diaspora. We can just have an influx of integration. Influx of people who are already integrated, influx of people who are seeing continental and not national.